I'm Joe Abbate, and welcome to episode 6 of Tank Bangers. Thank you for being patient with me this morning. Had a little bit of a delay with some personal issues that I had to take care of. On today's episode, I want to talk to you about sanding and giving a brush finish along the side of an Elsinore tank. We've covered this area a few times before. You may have seen it throughout my years of posting things on Facebook, but when we get done, we want it to look like this. But what about that line? Where does that vertical of the front separate from the horizontal of the side? We're going to be taking a look at that, and I'll be telling you about how to get a finish on something like that. First of all, I want to thank Gordon McCaffer. I have one of his shirts on this morning. Gordon McCaffer makes a fabulous work stand for your vintage downpipe bikes. I want to thank Gordon, a longtime friend, who I actually met at my very first vintage race way back in 1999. And I do believe I have a picture of one of his stands right here. And if I don't, well, I'm going to show it to you right now. You show Tank Bangers. Get 3 people watching. I'll take a look and see who that is in just a moment. But I really want to get a picture of, here we go. I want to get a picture of Gordon's stand up here so you get an idea of downloads. Where is it? Maybe I didn't download it yet. I'll have it here for you in just a second, guys. Thanks for being patient with me. And we'll get on with the show in just a minute. We'll talk about the sanding and how to mask off a few things, how to get it just the way you like it. But I do want to give a plug to a good friend who makes a quality product. He's been around a long time. And here it is. There it is, the Gordon McCaffer work stand. TIG welded, powder coated, comes with a grip, an offset handle, adjustable, both horizontally and vertically. Get a hold of Gordon McCaffer at 315-729-8415, or he is on Facebook. That's Gordon McCaffer. Okay, now we're going to switch cameras here, and we're going to get a better look at the front of this tank right here that I have in the vise. And I think I'm down to about 180 on that section right there. Let me see if I could see some of the comments. You got to remember, guys, if you want me to read your comments and see that you're here joining me on the show, which I love, you've got to either be friends with me on Facebook or like the Vintage Motocross Q&A page. I'm not really sure how that works, but I won't be able to see your name. Comments. No, can't see them right now. Anyway, we're going to continue on with what we're doing here. And now that I've got all the dents out and I've got it sanded to about 180, we're going to take it down a little bit further, down to 240. Now I'm going to do this rather quickly because I want to get into how to mask off or stripe this area with masking tape so you get the finish you're looking for, okay? Now, when you're doing the front of the tank first, go up into the side of the tank. That is really where the difference is between the horizontal and the vertical lines on your Elsinore tank. They are not at the front. It doesn't happen in here. It doesn't happen exactly on the bend. It happens a little bit further back. And we've been looking at this lately on, I've had 2 or 3 I've had 2 or 3 sets of pictures on NOS tanks. One was, I just got another one from Tony Mosley this morning, but we've had one from Bill Masho, and we've had another one from Bill Nasalrod, and I had one too. So I had 3 pictures of NOS tanks, and all of them they're a little bit different. No 2 tanks are exactly the same, but one thing I can assure you is that it's not on the bend and it's not in front of the bend. The line of separation between the horizontal and the vertical lines is back a little bit more on the side. But let's get back to that right now. That's why I was telling you to cut in a little bit more into the side of the tent. Yes, you do want to you want your sanding to all be even, so you want to make sure you get the flange too. I'm really tempted to try and put some music on, but I don't want to be cut off. Maybe I'll go on later on again today, and just as a little test, try it with some background music. See how it goes. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's going to be okay tomorrow. Facebook changes from day to day. That was my 320. I'm sorry, that was 180, 240. Now, follow up with a little 320. I'm always trying to go a little bit past where you're sanding so it doesn't just end in the middle of nowhere. You know, like you're doing the top around here. Curve it around the top a little bit so I can see what's going on. Hey, Tim Whitehouse Sr., you don't miss a show. You don't miss an episode, Tim. Thanks for being here. All right, I brought it down to 320. And at this point, it goes pretty quickly because you've been sanding this area since, well, let's say you took the dents out, and you got all your dents out, and you got it down with 80 grit, then you went to 180, 240, 320, 400. You know, you've been working on it for a while. It's pretty smooth. So it goes pretty quickly when you get to this point. Also, remember, you're sanding on a compound curve. What does that mean? It means it curves this way as well as this way. Keep the paper flat in the palm of your hand so it kind of contours with what's going on here. Got started a little bit late today. Makes me wonder if I got Brian Webley taking a later lunch. I know he likes to watch the show, and then he watches it at work during his lunch hour. I've been doing a lot of posting on Facebook for the Vintage Motocross Q&A page. We've got 5 years worth of material there. And I've been scheduling it, and it's been popping up at different hours of the day, even sometimes hours of the night. So some of our friends in Europe who are awake at that hour, they can catch it. Maybe get our viewership, membership, whatever you want to call it, get that to go up a little. Also, I'll be playing, right now I think I'm going to rerun some of our 75 or 80 interviews. I'm going to run those, I think, on Sunday. But I don't know, maybe I'll start doing it like, I don't know, Thursday and Sunday. There's a lot of interviews I got back there. I've got one with Harry Clem, Garrett Walsink, Brad Lackey, Tommy Croft, Dave Boydston. Got some great mechanics over the years that I've interviewed, including Billy West, Wrench of the Year, 1979, I think it was, or 80. He was Wrench of the Year when Rick Burgett won his 500cc national championship. Dave Arnold, I've had on there. Arnie Beeman was a really, really entertaining and educational interview. He was Jim Pomeroy's mechanic, not only at Butaco, but at Honda as well. So I'll be creating little events from time to time. You'll be able to hear some of those interviews if you haven't heard them. Many, many times I have said they're on the page. Go to the Q&A page. Go to the photo section. Go to where that little purple picture is that says all interviews, but not everybody catches on. Tim Whitehouse says he's learned a lot. You know, Tim, you've sent me 3 tanks to fix over the past year or so. You're probably not going to send me anymore if you keep watching these shows every day. Okay, let's get back to this section right here. And now that I've got all this sanded in, there is some dust there, aluminum dust. I'm going to wind up having to use some masking tape there now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it off. And, you know, yes, you can use water, good old water. You could use that. Don't use anything. Alcohol is great. Of course, don't use anything with any kind of oil-based, any kind of oil-based product. Nothing like WD-40, nothing like that. I like to use AMSOIL glass cleaner. Why? Here's why. It sticks. It bubbles up. Doesn't run all over the place like water or many other products. Thank you, Russell Waters and AMSOIL, for supplying us with such a great product. Works on Windows really well, too. Imagine that. All right. We've got that cleaned up. I've got some very, very shallow things going on this side here. I don't know. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep going here with what I started out to do. And if I have to go back here a little bit later on, I'll do that. I would like to see this line that I have here come over a little more to the side. I don't like where I ended it. So I'm going to cut it right into the green. This way. I know I've gone far enough. It was almost there. It looked pretty good. But now it looks better. And I'm just taking the 400 over the whole thing again. So have a nice even finish. If anyone is watching the show this morning and for some reason you are not or have not given us a like, share, and follow at Vintage Motocross Q&A, please do that. Just go over there. All you have to do is click like. You can share it. You can follow it. It'd be a big help. Live shows every Wednesday. We'll have one again for you this week at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Vintage Motocross Q&A, and that will be on Facebook as well as YouTube. Okay. One more time. A little shot of Hems oil, glass cleaner. All right. Now, let's go back to the other camera for just a second, and that'll do two things. It'll give me a little rest, and I'll get to explain to you once again. We want it to look like this. Now, I like to end where I cut it here, just about to the middle of the gas spout, or just above it. Anywhere in there, and it will be the same on this side when I finish this side. But that's where I like to get my tape, and I try and make it as even as possible on both sides, although both sides may not be even. One of these days, I hope to be able to find a video or a picture of just exactly how these tanks did get the brush finish on the side. It was explained to me that it was done on a type of a conveyor belt where you had, you know what it was just like? It was just like a car wash where the brushes come out, go down the side of your car. It was like that, of course, on a much, much smaller scale. And from what I understand, on those barrels, which used to spin around and put that brush finish on the side of the tank, the material that was on those spinning barrels were burlap. So anyway, hey, swamp picker, you're watching on YouTube? Okay, well, that's cool. As long as somebody's watching from someplace. All right, let's get into the taping off of this area. That we're going to want to eventually put a finish down the side of the tank too. Now, I've been doing this for a while. I've done many, many tanks. I don't measure. I put the tape on. And I know which way it's going. I know how tight to make this bend. I told you before, I try and get it somewhere between the middle and the back of the gas filler spout. And I start off with something very, very fine like this. This is it's really a painter's pinstriping tape, but that's exactly what works best in a situation like this. And I'm not on the bend, and I'm not on the front of the tank. I'm kind of going along the top. And when I say the top, I'm talking about the flat section of the side. All right. So I've got that one in place. Now, I don't have today, but it doesn't really matter, like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch pinstriping tape, but that's okay. This is the important one. This is the one that's going to give me the nice line there. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to go right, cover half of that. And this, of course, I can't bend so easily, but works just the same. And the purpose of going down the side of the tank a little bit here is when I sand this side, I don't want to mess up this beautiful brush finish that it took me a while to get over here. Now, whether you use tape like this or something a little bit wider, completely up to you, whatever you got. Try and buy a quality tape too. Because if you buy some dollar store crap, it's really gummy. It's just not quality stuff. It doesn't stick very well, and it leaves too much of a residue when you're done. Okay. Now, that should give us the protection we need not to come flying over the edge here. With our sandpaper and ruin that nice finish we already put on there. All right. I'm going to raise this camera up a little bit so you can see more of the top of the tank and what I'm doing here. Okay. Now, I was standing here, I think it was Friday when we were working on the same tank. I started cutting in that section over there. And I'm going to continue doing that right now. And then I'm going to get back to something that's happening up here on the tank. But for right now, we're going to start with some 180. You've heard me mention it many times before. Use a quality sandpaper. Don't use some stuff from Home Depot or Lowe's or any of those places. You want to use that. 180, P rated. Make sure it says P in front of the grade that you're using. P240, P180, P80, whatever it may be. I can fold it in half. And try and stay perpendicular with this edge. In other words, I'm going to keep my sandpaper the same way this edge is going. If you make a mistake and it goes off a little bit or whatever, it's not the end of the world. You're just going to sand a little more. Also, when you get to the edge right here, and this I do quite often, I start at this edge. And why I do that is I can judge it better and get a nicer cut on that edge. Later on, and I don't know if I'm going to be doing it today, but I'll probably do it tomorrow. And we'll cover polishing, how I do it by hand, how you could probably do it that way too. But there won't be a perfect line between the vertical and the horizontal. There'll be a little variation there. Anyway, I do it lightly. I'm keeping it straight. I'm moving up the side of the tank. Also, if you can do it, and it can't always be done, instead of this plastic, this more of a plastic pinstriping tape, if you can use something a little thicker than this, or even this This is probably 1/16 or an 1/8. But in masking tape, with the masking tape paper, that material, when you sand like this along through here, you'll actually sand away that material, that paper material from this type of masking tape, and that's what makes it really look authentic. Is when it's not such an even edge, and then when you go to polish it too, it's even it blends more. It looks more organic. It looks more natural. I'm still using the 180 on the flat of my hand. Always keep your paper clean. See when it clogs like this? Sometimes it clogs like that from tape, glue, any kind of sticker, anything like that. I'm probably got a little on there from the tape. You want to keep your paper clean. You don't want it to clog. Swamp Picker, we got anybody else watching on YouTube? I can't see what's happening over there. Yeah, I mentioned a little bit earlier. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Gordon McCaffer. Gordon's a certified welder, and he makes these incredibly beautiful, sturdy, long-lasting vintage work stands. I've got 2 of them for over 20 years. I use them all the time. Fully adjustable vertically as well as horizontally. Call Gordon McCaffer, 315-729-8415. He is in the greater Syracuse area. Okay. Yeah, and if you're seeing some marks back here, there are marks back there. But today I wanted to show you something to do with sanding, and then I'll get back to that. Again, perpendicular with the sandpaper. And you could use it this way too. I like to use it the other way, so I cover more area of the tank, but it's okay to use it this way too. All right, I've got 180, 240, 320. That gives you a pretty good idea. I'm just trying. I know there's a lot of glare from the light. We've got a little lump right here yet, but I'm gonna fool around with that in just a minute. Let me see if I can lower this and give you a little better look at the finish. You see that? And you know what I'm going to do too right now is I wouldn't normally do this. I'd probably leave this tape on. But you guys probably want to see a little bit more about what's happening here. And then we'll deal with that in just a minute. So, assuming you've spent more time than I have, and I will spend more time on this than I have on this little broadcast right here, and everything's looking great, and you don't see any sand scratches, and everything's looking real happy. You can peel away your tape. Like this. All right. And if you look closely, well, maybe you don't have to look closely, I don't know. You can see there's some gum from the tape around there. Alcohol will take it off. Glass cleaner will not take it off. I don't like to use goof off because it's oily. It leaves an oily finish underneath it. Yes, it takes the glue off, but it leaves some kind of oily gunk finish. I don't like that. Amsoil brake and parts cleaner. Essentially, brake cleaner. Dries right up, comes right off. I spray a little on a paper towel like this. I don't spray it all over the tank. And all the gum is gone. And it dries right up. All right, listen, guys, I need to take a short break. And you can only imagine why, because I'm 65 drinking coffee and water. But I need to take a short break. I am going to run a commercial here from the, let's see. How much time do I think I need? I think I'm going to run one from the International Motocross Museum. And I'll be right back. So stick around. We'll be back with more Tank Bangers in just a couple of minutes.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
That's much better. And we are back at Tank Bangers. We were looking at this tank that I've been working on at this stage. Okay, here we go. We were looking at this tank that I showed you how to mask it off and make the cut from the vertical to the horizontal. And along the way, and this happens many times. In fact, it happens every time I do a tank. Not until I get the entire side sanded down when I think I'm just about all there, and it looks like this, do I wind up looking down the side of the tank and seeing that's a little wavy in some areas? And you're just not going to see it. I mean, you could feel it, you can work on it, but then it gets to a point of where you don't even really feel it anymore. And it may be so shallow, or it might be long, and that's why you don't feel it, or it's very, very small. But when you look down the tank, and once it's at a 400 finish on it, or you've certainly when you've polished it, then you're going to see it. In this case right here, I knew before the show started today that I had a little bit of a dip going on right here. And let's see if you can see it any better right there. No, not really, huh? All right, tomorrow we're going to go back to a couple of different angles on the camera, or maybe add a camera to the show, and then you'll be able to see what's going on. You know what? I know when you're going to be able to see it. You're going to be able to see it when I sand it, and I'm going to do that right here. Now, I'm not really going to be working up here at all, just going to be primarily here. I'm not going to worry about this because I'm going to wind up having to go over it again anyway. So let's get this. I like to use this. I like to use this board right here. See, it's got that little curve to it. I like to use that. And I'm going to put a fresh piece of paper in here. I don't think I need to go any. No, I'm going to go with 400. I'm going to go with 400 and take it right down because it's fairly smooth, but it's not high. I have low spots here, not high spots. I don't have much sandpaper on there, just enough to kind of cover that area. Very, very lightly, no pressure, no real pressure here. See, and to me, it looked like it was only a little spot over here. But I think as I continue down the tank a little bit, that wasn't that bad, really. Oh, wait a minute now. I've got a little bit of a low spot right here, and certainly one right here. I don't know if you could see that. Yeah, you actually can see it. I'm going to point it out to you a little bit from the side right here. You actually can see it. There's one here. And there's one down here a little bit. Now you got a little better view of it. One here. And you got one down here. A couple little things right here. Nothing to be too concerned with. Now, what do I have to do in order to correct those? I have to go back in there. I have to go back in there and lift them up. Let's see if I can get you a good shot from over here. I don't think I can get it any closer than that, really. Yeah, now you can see it. You can see it pretty well. one there, and a little bit of an area back here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back in with this guy. Remember this from last week? Sort of looks like a golf club, except it's made of steel. It's hollow. It's got that little knob on the end. And I've got a hole drilled up in the front of the tank from when I was working on the tank previously, so I'll be able to get back in there again. TV, looking great. Swamp picker. And of course, just about, he's my trusty sidekick at this point, Tim Whitehouse. All right, I'm going back in through the front of the tank. Put that rod down there. Gonna get the magnet. Okay. Right about there. And I am going to put very, very light pressure on the end. Very light pressure on the end of the tool to start lifting up on that little low spot I got right there. And if you remember on one of last week's episodes, I did mention to you that you want to look at it on an angle so that you can see those little dimples coming up from the tool that you're prying with. You want to keep them as close as possible. You want to go right next to the dimple that you just made, right next to it. You should almost be touching. Take some of my finest sandpaper, piece of 400. Barely putting any pressure on it. You see them? You see the spots there? You see them? Right here? See them? They're all over here. That's what we're creating. That's how we're getting that spot up to where we need it to bring it level. All right, I'm going to go back to that longboard for a second because I want to cover not only the spot where I have my little dimples and my little high spot that I've created, but I want to go just past there. So I'm taking an even amount of material, even though it's microscopic. I just want to take down an even amount of material across there. This will also give me an idea of, you know, how much smaller that low spot, got from us doing the prying on there. I'm still a little low. This looks shinier out here now, of course, from sanding back and forth. I can still see my area where I'm working, and it's not quite there yet. So we're going to get to it again. And yeah, you can see one out here too. But I'm just going to take this one at a time right now. Okay. I think if I give it a little circular sanding, using the palm of my hand, going a little wider. Looking pretty good. I mentioned this the other day to you too, about putting your sandpaper on the edge of the board like that. When I have very, very light waves in a tank like that, I like to put it right on the edge. And I like to hold the board where just the edge of that sanding board, but with the sandpaper on it, of course, touches that area. You go in little circles. Not in a crisscross pattern, but going crisscross. I'm doing it lightly. Oh, yeah. Doing it lightly. Okay. Well, could use a little more attention right there, but nothing that I won't be able to sand out at this point. If I have to get back in there with the tool one more time, and I may have to do that because I still have a little bit of an impression down here, I'll do that. But right now, I'm just going to back it out a little bit. Lower it. And while I got you here, guys, because I only got a couple of minutes, then that'll be the end of today's episode. If you have questions, post your questions in the comment section, please. Post them in there, and then I'll address it on tomorrow's episode or maybe Wednesday, whatever it may be. And if you have a question regarding sandpaper, sanding technique, welding, whatever it might be, ask the question. I take a screenshot of it. I'll post it in a picture up on the screen so we all know who the question came from and what it's about. And then we'll answer it, okay? Once again, where was I? Media, assets, Today's show is brought to you by Gordon McCaffer, certified welder in the greater Syracuse area. You can get a hold of Gordon at 315-729-8415. The best vintage stands in the business, TIG welded, powder coated, fully adjustable. That's it for today's episode of Tank Bangers. Thank you for joining me. And again, Thank you for being patient with me. We got a little bit of a late start. I will be back again tomorrow morning at 9 sharp. Keep the questions coming in, guys. I hope you're enjoying some of the tips and tricks I've been giving you as far as sanding and working on aluminum tanks, Elsinore tanks mostly at this point. But we got some other tanks here too. Got a Husky tank with a huge dent on top. Maybe we'll get to that on a future episode. Or some Mako tanks or whatever might come through the door. Don't forget to watch our Vintage Motocross Q&A show live every Wednesday on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9. Thanks for watching.